The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello and welcome back to the Icons of Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Timothy Kaitano, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a few seconds to just get your friends, gather your family, because you do not want to miss a second of this. Why? Because, well, we have a man that has an amazing story to tell. You might know him as, a successful real estate, I would say, not even just an agent, man. You've done a lot. And you might know him because he's written a couple of books that you've read. And maybe you went to a seminar or a conference where he was one of the guests. And you're really familiar with his style. Ladies and gentlemen, he is looking sharp. He is looking amazing. He is the luminary in real estate. His name is Steve Collins. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, Timothy. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, Steve, I'd like to start off by thanking you because, I really value and appreciate having guests on like you, because not only are you here to motivate real estate agents, but everybody. You're here to motivate the real estate agent that has hit rock bottom and just doesn't know how they're going to get back up, or the real estate agent that is successful in their real estate career, but really doesn't have a balance, between being successful in their marriage. I don't know if success is the word, but that's exactly what I think you'll be speaking to. And I'm really glad to have you here. One thing that I do want us to start off by is just getting to know you, just getting to know Steve and getting to know how all of this started.
Yeah, well, thank you, Timothy. I'll just start with as dramatic as possible, as quickly as possible. Young man in a small Catholic school in San Antonio, Texas. It's really funny. This ties into a story. My father came over 2 months ago and he said, "Hey, I'm in the area by your house. I want to drop off a report card from the first grade." And I'm really, he goes, "Yeah, I was going through some old papers and I found a report card. Talks too much, making everybody laugh, not respecting authority, and telling jokes." He goes, "Man, all the stuff you got in trouble for is now what you get paid to do, man. How's that?" And I said, "Boy, that's funny." It made me laugh. So back then, they didn't know necessarily what they know today. They just knew I was a hyperactive individual, which basically meant my nature and energy and personality was not suited for sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day, being quiet in a book, full of energy, full of life. And all they knew how to do back then was to medicate. So they put me on Ritalin and I turned into a zombie, got internal. What's wrong with me? Why am I different from anybody else? I don't know. Why can't I be like other people? What's wrong with me? And that was a very first start of a self-image that was very poor. And when I got off of the Ritalin in 5th grade and went to the 6th grade, something interesting happened. I was introduced to marijuana and I wanted to fit in with the crowd in 6th grade. And what I found was where everybody else was smoking marijuana to get high, I felt calm. I didn't feel out of control. It was almost like another form of self-medication. And the problem with that is that the people who use, and I don't care what anybody says about it not being a gateway drug, that's just somebody tripping who wants to get high all the time.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, when you're hanging around people who do that, there will be individuals who show up that say, "Well, hey, have you considered this?" Or at the party, "Look at what I got. I got a little bit of this." And so it kept escalating until I wound up suicidal, bipolar, manic depressive. My high school sweetheart I had married was now pregnant from another guy, and I wound up being taken into protective custody by the legal system and committed to the Texas State Hospital, where the walls to my room were soft and the sleeves to my jacket were really long. I didn't even know if I was going to get out of that place, but I did something I'd never done before. I surrendered and I said, God, if you're really real and you can help me, I'll do whatever you want for the rest of my life. Well, clearly that prayer guy answered 35 years ago. And the quest from that point forward was to become everything I was created to become, the potential that I have within me to use the gifts and talents that I've been given in service to other people and to change the world. And to change the world by changing me. Jim Rohn says, for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. So I accepted the responsibility of becoming a model and an example prior to becoming a teacher. And more than motivating people, nowadays, I'm activating people. I don't mind if somebody's motivated, but if it's going to motivate them to feel good, get goosebumps and see rainbow and glitter and unicorns, cool. I want people who are going to go to work, who are going to take the knowledge that they receive from our conversations and who will put it to work, which is why we built this coaching program, because the number of people who want a bigger life, who want to earn more money, who want to have great relationships, who want to be in great shape, the number of people who want that versus the number of people who will work for it is very different. You get in a crowd, you say, hey, who wants change? Everybody raises their hands and you say, who wants to change? And everybody goes, oh,
Yes.
hold up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I have, is to become everything I was created to become as a whole person. That means being spiritually fit. That means being physically fit. That means having an amazing relationship with my wife. We'll celebrate 30 years this year.
Wow.
And built several successful companies, all while raising 7 children.
Congratulations.
You know, Timothy, people don't believe me. People don't believe me. They go, you have 7 kids. I thought, no, I don't. You can't even tell, right? I didn't even got stretch marks. Like, I look good, right?
You look good.
For having 7 kids. I didn't even put on any weight. But, the reality is that I was in a position to no longer be a victim at 20 years old. At 20 years old, I made the decision, life is not happening to me, life is happening for me. And when you've done the very best you can, and you can't do any better, everybody's parents and caregivers told them, hey, baby doll, listen, just do the very best you can. We can't expect more of you. Just do the best you can. Give us your very best. So when people do their very best and they're not getting the results, they've been given this pass from childhood that, hey, it ain't working out. In my coaching program, here's what we say. When you say you've done the best you can, you don't throw in the towel or rely on mom and dad's words. You ask yourself this question. Well, what is the best that can be done? And let's go there. I'm doing my best in my marriage. It ain't working. You did your best? Yes. Your very best? Yes. Okay, well, what's the best that can be done, brother? What's the best that can? I guess I could go to counseling. What else? I guess I could go to a marriage conference. What else? I guess I could read a book. What else? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? So the relationship of accountability and activation to move people into action would not work if I wasn't walking the walk and talking the talk myself. So all of our coaches are hand selected as people who wake up every day and do hard things so that they can model what that's like and have the integrity to expect that from the people that we are connected to nowadays. Just happens to be 26 years in real estate. I got some numbers for you. I checked with our market center administrator in the last 9 years. The office I'm with in San Antonio has closed over 70,000 transactions for over $20 billion. It is the #1 Keller Williams office in the whole world out of over 800 offices.
Wow.
So,
wait, Colin, sorry to cut you off there. But
come on.
I don't think they heard what you just said. Can you just repeat that for the people in the back?
In the last 9 years, our office here in San Antonio has closed over 70,000 transactions for over $20 billion in sales.
$1 billion in sales, man. This is what we're talking about. Not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. That's amazing, Steve.
Yeah, it's very exciting. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. The responsibility is to operate in integrity. And here's the thing about personal growth and development. There's no diploma for this if you do it right. You don't ever graduate, man. You wake up every day and it's time to pay the rent. It's time one day at a time, by the grace of God, to get out there and get after it one day at a time, leaving it all on the field one day at a time. And there's always room for improvement.
Wow, 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 wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I said it at the beginning. You do not want to miss a second of this. Steve, one thing that I love that you mentioned is that you got to a point where you prioritize not just being physically fit, but mentally, in every aspect of your life and in your marriage. I think a lot of agents are so deep in this industry that they neglect a lot of those things. They neglect their bodies. They don't have time to work out. Not even that they don't have time to work out. They don't work out. They have a successful real estate career, but the wife is not happy. The family is not happy back at home. Or maybe none of those things are working out. What would you say was the secret to your success, not just in real estate, but in every aspect of your life?
That's a great question, Timothy. I think the first step was acknowledging that I wanted to live as big of a life as possible. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, and have espresso, and sit next to my beautiful wife on the beach in Maui. I don't give me no damn cake and tell me I can't eat it, Timothy. That's ridiculous. So first I had to believe that, one, that was available to me, and that, two, if I put in the work and got the right resources and relationships, that it was not only available, that it was possible. And then it had to be, for each individual, like it was for me, I had to define for myself exactly what winning looked like for me in each of those areas. So let me give you an idea. We use this concept that my mentor Zig Ziglar put out there of the wheel of life. So you've got these spokes: your spiritual, your physical, your marriage, your parenting, your financial, your career. We've added recreation on there. We've added your use of technology. Not am I good at Canva, but how do I make the people around me feel when I'm at home with my tech? And so we are willing to have these conversations. And for each area and each spoke on that wheel, we have to recognize that we all have a current, right now, every one of us has a current set of beliefs, a set of habits or lack of habits, and a mindset around each of those areas. Now, those things are working for us, or they are working against us. So the first step is an awareness that my life can be broken down into these different areas, which each have their own belief systems, habits, hangups, and habits that are working for me or against me. So first we recognize, okay, my life can be broken up. Like if somebody goes, my life sucks, I go, I don't think so. You married, right? Yeah. Your wife like you? Yeah. You in good shape? Yeah. How your kids? Healthy. You got a home? Yeah. You got a car? Yeah. Well, what's up? Man, I'm struggling financially. Okay, so you're struggling. Your life doesn't suck. Your finances need some help. But see, we categorize our life. So being able to divide ourselves in our mind in the areas of our life, I have to say, what does winning look like for me if I felt I was at a 10 spiritually on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bankrupt, 10 being the best it's ever been? What does that look like exactly in my marriage? What does that look like exactly as a husband? What does that look like for me exactly physically? What does that look like for me with my recreation? So Stephen Covey wrote a book years ago called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits he discusses is this concept of begin, whatever you're going to do, begin with the end in mind. So my mentor Zig Ziglar would say, if you aim for nothing, you're going to hit it every time. And if you don't have a target, you ain't ever going to hit it. So we begin with the end in mind by determining, this is what I did. What exactly does winning look like for me as a realtor? What does winning look like for me as a husband? What does winning look like for me as a father? What does winning look like for me as a guy 55 years old? Okay. And what
did you say 55?
I'm 55 years old, man.
Man.
I'm the oldest 55-year-old I know with a six-pack. Come on,
Ooh,
Timothy.
come on.
But, I had to say, what does winning look like for me in each of those areas? So number one, I have awareness that a bigger life is available. Number two, I have to have a belief that, well, you know what? I bet if I put in the work and get the right relationships and resources, I can get there. Then once I have that belief going, then it's okay, well, what does that look like exactly? So that if I begin with the end in mind, now I can create a plan to get over there. If I say, hey, kids, we're going on a vacation for spring break in 2 weeks. Where are we going? Oh, no, but we're going somewhere. That's not the same as us saying we're going to go to Destin, Florida, and we're going to stay on the beach. Well, now that I know where we're headed, now we can craft the plan and the blueprint and the map to get there. Okay, but if I just say we're going on a vacation, different. Does that make sense? So, like, where are we going to go? I don't know, wherever we wind up. Zig Ziglar would say people without clear goals are a wandering generality versus being a meaningful specific. So the secret is believe it's possible, okay? Be willing to accept that this can happen for me, then get clear on what the end looks like. Now let's craft a plan that's boiled down to this. What daily actions or activities can I take? Just a couple that will move the ball down the field for each of these areas that I can build into my schedule and execute on daily, one day at a time. You can eat 7 apples on Sunday. Ain't the same as an apple a day. I can go to the gym for 8 hours on Saturday. Ain't the same as an hour a day. Some things have to be done daily for this execution. So, by the way, Timothy, you mentioned something that's the number one excuse I've heard from everybody we've coached. Steve, I ain't got time. I'd go on a date with my wife. I ain't got time. I'd go to the gym. I ain't got time. I'd read a book. I ain't got time. I say, yes, you do, country boy. You got time. What you have to stop saying is I ain't got time. This is what you have to say when you're in my world. You have to say these words. It wasn't a priority.
Mm.
Hey, man, did you date your wife this week, Timothy? No, coach, I didn't. It wasn't a priority.
Wow.
Ooh, that hits different.
It is different. It is
Okay,
different.
every choice you and I are making, Timothy, reveals our true priority. So extreme ownership and responsibility comes from recognizing I'm not a victim of time. I'm making choices all day, every day about what my real priorities were. Of course, lead generating for new business wasn't a priority for you because that sucks and it's hard. That's why you were on Instagram for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because relief was more of a priority to you than doing the work that you need to do to get clients. And I understand that because, Timothy, the big trap here is subconsciously we are pursuing pleasure or avoiding pain or both at the same time.
Wow.
Pain and pleasure are the levers. If it's pain for me to lead generate and make phone calls and go door knocking, I'm going to avoid that. If it's pleasure for me to be on Instagram, connect with my friends, go out and have drinks at lunchtime, I'm going to lean towards what's going to be easier. And so the challenge then for realtors who are performing and doing well, who are struggling at home, is they're a rock star in the marketplace. At their office, they're getting the awards, they're getting the accolades, they're getting the recognition. They come home and their spouse is like, what the hell? Why ain't got no time for me? You need to cut the grass. You need to fix the toilet. So over here, I'm a rock star. Over here, I feel like a loser. Where am I going to spend my time? Over here.
Yeah.
And that marriage is like a rose garden that just gets neglected, and then the weeds grow through and choke it out. And you got to be willing to fertilize and to water and to prune and to get stuck and bleed now and then over there. But if you don't have the resources or the relationships to help you improve in those areas, then you won't. And then you'll go, well, I've done the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, where we come in and say, okay, well, now what's the best that can be done? Okay, how bad do you really want that? Do you really want that? So, Timothy, that's why I go to marriage conferences several times a year. That's why I read books like nobody's business that my wife says, you might want to read this book. I'm like, I'll read it. And I gain something from it. It's why I have a therapist. It's why I have a counselor. It's why I have multiple coaches. Because my best effort can only get me so far. And if I really want the best of the best and I have clarity on what winning looks like, then I know I need relationships and resources that I need to invest in to help me get there.
Mm.
And so the secret for me is I don't say I didn't have time. I recognize everything I choose is a priority. I have to believe it's available. I have to be aware it's available. And then I begin with the end in mind and say, okay, what does winning look like for me? All right, now what are the steps for me to get there? And here's the magic of all of this is accountability. If you don't have someone you're checking in with, chances are good you're not going to execute consistently. Make sense?
Makes so much sense. Makes so much sense. Steve, I would say you definitely 100%, you're 100% right on that. When it comes to a lot of things, we do have the time. We just don't prioritize it. One of the things that I want to touch on that you mentioned like several times is that you had a mentor. You had a mentor that guided you to success. And I think a lot of people, even real estate agents, get into this thinking that, hey, I'm going to have an amazing story of how I did this all by myself. And the first year in, not even the first year, first couple of months in, they hit rock bottom. And it's either they stay on that track or they part of the 80% that drop out of real estate. Now, what is the importance of having a mentor? And how has that also impacted your life? I know a lot of people do know, but what can you say about it?
It boils down to the accountability again. An old saying, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. You need other people around you that can see things that you don't see, that maybe see you bigger than you see yourself. And these relationships can be professional relationships. So a mentor may be somebody that I look up to and check in with now and then, who is a neat model example, is different than a coach who I hire and don't pay a coach. I invest in Steve Collins by bringing this person into my life to help me get to where I need to get. I employ them. They are not the boss of me. I say, I'm bringing you into my world as a self-employed individual to help me stay accountable to my goals, because I may let myself down. I ain't going to let you down. There's something interesting about human psychology where if we give our word to another man or another woman in a professional relationship, we tend to execute. And we can break promises to ourselves. Well, I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to the gym. Yeah, right you are, brother. Yeah, right you are.
Yeah.
But if you do what I did, my boy John Talley, best friend of mine for like 25 years, we had a meeting about 18 years ago, and here's what we said. You know, if I want to be in great shape and I want to have breakfast with my wife, have breakfast with my kids, take my kids to school, have time to pray, have time to read, have time to plan and work out. The only way this thing's going to work out, man, is if I'm at the gym at 5 a.m. I can work out 5, 6, get home, and then do my morning routine. Now I'm walking into the office. I've been slaying dragons for 4 hours. I'm going to be at the top of my game, but I'm a night owl. But this is the only way it's going to work. He said, it'll work for me too. Let's shake hands and make an agreement. What's the agreement? If we stand each other up that night, we're going to go to San Antonio's most expensive steakhouse, Bohannon's. We're going to buy the most expensive steak. We're going to get the lobster tail that was flown in from South Africa that day. And when the main D comes out and says, would you like the lobster mac and cheese, the asparagus, the Brussels sprouts, or the mashed potatoes? We're going to say, yes. And I'm going to say, I don't want a glass of wine. I want a bottle of Camus, but not that Camus up there on the shelf. I want the one where you have to go down into the basement and you and the manager turn keys at the same time. It opens up. It's got, it's going to be an $8,000 dinner.
Yeah.
You stand me up, you're paying. I stand you up, I'm paying. Accountability here, Timothy. We shook hands on that, and we didn't miss a day for almost 5 years. He became one of the top producers at Tom James Clothing Company, and I became one of the top producers in real estate in my city because we knew if we were going to perform at the highest level, there were disciplines that we were not. Timothy, I woke up in the mornings like, oh, hell no.
I'm not going to pay
It's 20 degrees. It's 20 degrees. I live in Texas.
Yeah.
No, but I ain't going to buy that white boy no dinner tonight. I'm like, no, that ain't going to happen, because no. And I told him, no, it's never going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm never going to do that. So that accountability was the key factor. How important was it? If I hadn't had, now see, that was accountability. That can come through mentoring some ways. It can come through coaching. It can come through another person who's as committed as you, but you get another person involved in the disciplines and activities. Now, hear me on this, Timothy. You don't have to live aggressively disciplined for your whole life. You need enough discipline to create a habit. And once that habit's created, now you got a little momentum. Then there was a time where we loved getting up and going to the gym in the morning. I loved it, man. I would walk into the office past 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds. I'm 45 and I'm lit. I'm ripped. I got veins out of my arm. I'm like, what's up? And they're like, coffee. I'm like, you a sad case, boy. You a sad. Look at you struggling over here to get a cup of coffee. You probably just woke up and stumbled out of bed. I bet you snooze 10 times, didn't you? How'd you know that? You wake up and hit snooze in the morning, you're going to end up working for somebody who don't.
Ooh.
How you like that?
Wow.
So, there's a lot of energy that comes from the intensity of that type of commitment to activate the movement. So that's how important it was. How important was it? I wouldn't have done it because there was at least in 5 years, there was at least, I don't know, 1,000 mornings I did not want to get up when the clock went off at 4:20. But because I was accountable in relationship, I got up. It makes sense? So it was critical.
Makes so much sense. I think I'm gonna have that same pact with my buddies. No one wants to spend thousands on dinner, so we're gonna make millions off of just ducking an $8,000 bill.
That's right, man. That's right.
Well, Steve, man, this was the one thing that I was just not looking forward to. The point in time where you have to be like, well, we don't have enough time for this. There's a lot of people that, so I would say you've definitely motivated a lot of people and they want to hear more from you. But unfortunately, we don't have time, but they still can, because not only are you winning in all aspects of life, but Steve Collins is an author, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, can you just tell us, how can we get more information? How can we better ourselves and be everything that God has created us to be through the information that you've shared? How can we find this?
Sure. Easy. My name, you would go to www.therealstevecollins.com, and that will lead you to our website that talks about the services that we offer, the relationships we offer, the resources we offer. The product I'm most proud of, which is we've made ridiculously inexpensive because we just launched it, is called the Vault of Wisdom. There are literally hundreds of scripts and dialogues that I've come up with on my own over the last 26 years of winning. But what I'm most excited about in the Vault of Wisdom is that picture a day if you're a new realtor and you got new home buyers and you're getting ready to perform an inspection. You have the inspection coming up and you're not sure what to do. Well, you can go into our Vault of Wisdom. And what I did, it took me 3 years to do this. I created 90 different videos and PDFs around every conversation a realtor will have when they work with the buyer or seller, from the time they shake their hands and say, hi, my name is Steve Collins, I'm a realtor, to here's the keys to your house. There's about 90 common conversations that can take place throughout. So you're a realtor in your office, you're a little worried, you're like, man, what do I say? How do I say it? You can click on my Vault of Wisdom, click on preparing for, and it's all in order from the first conversation to the last. Here's where I am in the transaction. Boom, let me click what Steve Collins has to say. Boom. Okay, when it comes time to the inspection and people are not aware of the inspection, here's where we want to steer their attention. What we call the big five. Here's how it goes. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, we're going to have an inspection on your house. There's going to be thousands of things that are going to come up on there that we're not really worried about. We're worried about the big five. What are those big five? Your foundation, your plumbing, your electrical, your AC, and your roof. Those 5 things, if they have a problem, will cost a lot of money and require a licensed individual to look at them. So when we get this inspection report back, even though there's going to be a lot of normal wear and tear items, we're just going to focus on the big 5. I'm an expert at dissecting this report. I'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and then I'll call you and tell you what I found, and you can look at it too, and we'll have a conversation around it. So they click that video, they hear me in real time saying what I just said to you, along with the PDF that goes along with it, along with the third document, say, do this, don't do this. They can pull this up and be on the phone with their client and read it just as it's written, and 90 different places. So that means a newer agent will know exactly what to say and exactly how to say it at every step of the transaction if they choose to. And seasoned agents will get best practices from a top agent who's been in the business a quarter century. So that's what I'm most proud of. And are you ready for this? This is going to blow your mind. You're going to want to reach through this. You're going to want to reach through and slap me. I'm only charging $14.97 a month.
Whoa. Whoa.
14. They spend more money than that on Starbucks, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be going up significantly as we go to our national launch, but for $14.97 a month, they have access to know exactly what to say, exactly how to say it. I'm also available for keynote speaking. 28,000 competed this last year for what's known as America's Next Great American Speaker, the Great American Speak Off with the Grant Cardone organization. And I just got back from Miami last week and I was top 10. I won one of the top 10. So I have that energy and intensity to bring the fire at any type of keynote. And of course, we have our coaching program with our one-on-one and group coaching and other webinars. And all that is at therealstevecollins.com.
Whoa. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a realtor, you have no excuse. $14? Look, if you're not going to go on the Vault of Wisdom, if you're not going to click on that, and a couple of years from now, you're still wondering, why am I in this position? Well, you just know that you totally neglected this. I encourage all of you guys to go check it out. We're going to have Steve's details in the description, so you can reach out. You can reach out to the team, and you can get better at life. You can get better at everything that you've been wanting to do. Steve, thank you so much, man. I hope we get you again, because I know that you had more to share. It's just that we don't have that much time, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
You're welcome, Timothy, and allow me to leave the listeners with one word of encouragement. Listen, man, listen, I've been as dark and down as anybody could possibly be. Detoxing on a gurney with leather straps around my wrists and ankles for 4 days after a 4-day binge, my life was over. The only choice I had was, am I going to put the barrel under my chin, or am I going to put it to my temple when I pull the trigger? And I'm going to tell you, if I can do this and make a beautiful life out of less than nothing, you have so much hope and potential. You have no idea. You reach out to me at therealstevecollins.com and I will help you build a life you love so that you can love the life you live.
Well, wait, I don't know about you guys, but I know exactly what I'm going to do right after this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got this far and this has added value into your life, add some value into someone else's life. Share it with them. Share this video with your friends, your social circle, and I guarantee you they're going to love you forever, man. It has been your host, Timothy Kaitano, with the amazing... Ooh, he's looking good, isn't he, man? Come on, man. Come on. With Steve Collins. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till we meet again next time. Take care.